Is that not common knowledge, or am I just Texan? I was getting a little nervous there for a minute, I'm not gonna lie to you. I apologize, I didn't know your game. I think that is a travesty. It's too logical, apparently. It's a prison. Hey y'all, it's Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video, I'm gonna be raiding my shelves and reading romance books for the next 7 days. All right, before I get into anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, and you have to tell me in the comments what is the best romance book you've read lately. What was the one that, you read it and you can't get it off your mind? The couple is still just hanging around in your head. It was a glowing 5-star. Add to my TBR, because clearly I don't have any romance books to read. Obviously, Valentine's Day is around the corner, so of course I wanted to do some sort of a romance-based reading vlog, and I really am wanting to, once again, try to reprioritize my Raid My Shelves videos. Basically, the focus of this is just to try and read down my owned TBR, but this time around I'm gonna let the Raid My Shelves gods, I guess we'll say, decide what romance books am I gonna be reading. So I have written down every title on a slip of paper in this mug, and we're gonna draw them. As the week goes on, I am going to just continue reading more and more books. I'm gonna do this for a whole week, and I'm only going to be focusing on reading the books from this shelf. So I'm really hoping I will get through a good few, but I am so excited for this. I wanted to officially start the vlog off, and let's draw our first pick. It's been a minute since I've done this, so I'm gonna mix them up nice and good, and we're gonna go with this one. And what are you? Yes, okay, I'm actually very happy about this because I've really been wanting to get around to this one. It is The Art of Catching Feelings. So this one is by Alicia Thompson, and I gotta say, I love these like old school cartoon covers that she has. They're very like a la Archie's comics, and I really enjoy them. I recently saw her new release that's coming out, and she has officially pulled away from the style, and I think that is a travesty. But this one is supposed to be following a baseball player and his heckler who end up accidentally falling in love. I think she like private messages him after getting drunk and heckling the crap out of him so badly that like he ends up crying. So she attempts to apologize, but instead they end up like flirting it up, going back and forth, developing a little bit of a relationship, and of course she is scared to admit who she actually is. It sounds very silly, but it also sounds really fun. I also just feel like, let's be honest here, heated rivalry is just all the rage right now, so I feel like sports romances are really on everybody's minds, and I personally don't super care about hockey, but I do like baseball. This works perfectly. I'm very excited to finally start into this one. And on that note, I will talk to y'all again whenever I've started reading. Hi friends, that was unexpected. It's been a minute since I started this vlog because I fell down a fan fiction rabbit hole. It's a prison. I'm trying to escape. It's been a whole thing. This video has gotten pushed back numerous times now. We're still doing a full week because I said I was going to, and I was really looking forward to this, but I got distracted. I've officially finished out actually The Art of Catching Feelings by Alicia Thompson, and I will say I really liked this. Yeah, I read like, I would estimate about 30-ish% prior to this. I was planning to actually film an update, whenever I was at a convenient pausing point. I've been binging this like all freaking day. First and foremost, this is kind of a catfish romance, sort of. It's not necessarily catfish, it's more like secret identity because she doesn't pretend to be somebody else necessarily. It's just that she interacts with Chris in 2 different formats. Like, I knew they formed a relationship online. I did not realize they then actually form a relationship in person as well. So Daphne actually got the tickets to the game because her brother and sister-in-law are adjacently connected to this baseball team. Then come to find out her sister-in-law is pregnant and is going to be put on bed rest, and the sister-in-law actually recommends Daphne to be her temporary replacement as the interviewer for the team. So then Daphne starts to interact with Chris in person, and obviously there's this like uncomfortableness because she's the heckler, but also the fact that they have this other relationship that Chris doesn't really know about. So she sort of cuts that off, and then eventually some relationship does start to grow between Chris and Daphne. It's definitely heavy on the miscommunication in that element, and I do think it is frustrating, but I also feel like a lot of the hangups Daphne has in trying to come clean about this with Chris do come down to issues that are brought up because of her background. She is recently divorced, and though her relationship was not abusive, it just was not a good relationship, and it has really impacted her self-esteem, the image she has of herself, and so she's really terrified of like what coming clean will do to this relationship that they're developing. Whereas on the opposite side, Chris does also have some good background as well. I loved Chris as a hero character. He's one of those where it's like, he definitely has some issues, but so much of him is just top tier perfection that I was like, he's a little too perfect. But again, he does have some dark background. Unfortunately, his brother has recently passed from taking his own life. And Chris is like basically just put this in a box and shoved it in the back corner of his brain. And he thinks he is handling this fine, but everybody else can see he is clearly not handling this fine because it's impacting his playing. It's impacting his job, his moods, his relationships. Between both of them, I do think the character work is very well done. Like I said, the whole setup around the miscommunication, I think is definitely, you're gonna have to be able to put up with it. The spicing. Miss Thompson, I apologize. I didn't know your game. It is a sports romance, so like as far as baseball goes, I mean, it's definitely there, but it's not over the top involved. However, it's a very important element to like both of their lives when a relationship starts to develop because it's their jobs. I gotta say, I did really like this. Really, I guess my biggest complaint does come down to how long this miscommunication thing takes to be addressed. Is a con, but an understandable con. And then I wasn't the biggest fan of like it's not really a grand gesture that Daphne does, but like when she is trying to apologize for what happened, I didn't love how that played out. I think that was like officially pushing it into, okay, babe, come on. Even still though, really, really enjoyed it. So glad I finally got around to reading this. I've already recommended it to so many people. I think I would probably give this one, I think I'm gonna say 4 stars. I really did like this. Not necessarily my new fave. Daphne as a character was a little frustrating. Again, just like the inherent setup of the story, I think lends itself to being frustrating. But if you know that going in and you are prepared for it, I think you can still enjoy the story. So, first book officially down, finally. Meaning while we're here, may as well go ahead and grab the next book. I didn't think through the fact that I'm filming this in front of my red shelves. I'm gonna have to go grab this book, whatever it is, off of my TBR. Oh well, it's fine. Okay, what's this one? Let's see. Okay, we have got The Ride of Her Life by Jennifer Dugan. Let me go get this. As I was saying, so this one is a sapphic opposites attract romance, I believe. Enemies to lovers, grumpy sunshine, queer rom-com. All things perfectly up my alley. Loving it. Okay, so apparently we're following Molly, who is struggling to make her real dream work happen and ends up inheriting a rundown, struggling horse farm from her estranged late aunt. But of course, like classic Hallmark style, when she's there, she starts to fall in love with it. However, there is Shani, not sure how to pronounce this, and she was the person who actually took care of the aunt in her last days and also is the resident farrier and absolutely refuses to give up on this farm, but she is a total grump. Yeah, I'm really hoping I will enjoy this one. I don't know if I've maybe seen like 1 or 2 reviews of this. I had very complicated feelings on my first book by this author, Love at First Set. I really liked parts of it. I didn't totally love it. However, it was definitely entertaining, and I'm really hoping this at the very least is entertaining and sucks me in the same way that one did, which would be perfect so I can continue making real progress in this vlog for you guys, especially now that we are heading into the weekend. And as of late, I tend to never get any good reading done on the weekend. I know that's so weird. I don't know why this is, but I've been filming for absolutely forever. So on that note, I will officially talk to y'all again when I've started into this book, and I really hope that is tonight. Hey y'all, wow, it's funny. Once I got the ball rolling, I'm actually like doing pretty good here. I have actually made a good amount of progress into The Ride of Her Life. I'm around 40-ish% into this now, and it's kind of reminding me of my experience with my first Jennifer Dugan, which is, it's enjoyable, but like I am not loving the romance. We have our 2 main characters. Molly is basically just like in a rut in her life. She kind of is a person who meets somebody, really likes them, and then like makes her entire personality about that person, which is blown up in her face numerous times. But whenever she ends up inheriting this horse farm from her great aunt, then she meets Shani, is also interested in Shani, and it's like kind of that she's starting to do that, but it's not quite what's happening. However, one element of her personality that you see with that definitely transcends with the whole situation of inheriting this horse farm and trying to figure out what she's going to do. This woman is so reckless and does things on such a quick impulse without thinking it through at all, and it's very irritating. She just put her foot in it for like maybe the third time by doing that. Like if she literally just asked a single question to anybody, wouldn't have been an issue. That's too simple. That's too logical, apparently. It makes sense as far as like the character we've been introduced to, but that does not mean I have to like it. I also am having complicated feelings as far as the relationship goes, because though this is definitely very grumpy sunshine, I don't know if I'm really feeling like a romance developing between these two. Still very tense. Shani really resents Molly for inheriting the farm, and Molly resents Shani for hating her because she's in this complicated situation. It's weird. It's so frustrating on both sides when it comes to this horse farm. Molly doesn't know anything about any of this, like at all. I mean, there's been a few things where I'm like, is that not common knowledge or am I just Texan? So naturally, of course, that's part of why Shani resents Molly for inheriting this, because she doesn't know anything about any of this stuff. She doesn't know anything about the business. She doesn't know anything about horses. She really doesn't know what it takes to take care of them. And some people who have boarded their horses at this place are helping her out. There's a few people here or there that like give her advice. They tell her how to do things, but there's still plenty of stuff she just does not know. And then they get upset or like frustrated or put in weird, uncomfortable situations because Molly did something that she didn't know she wasn't supposed to do. And it's happened numerous times now, and it's just ridiculous. But at the same time, when it comes to Molly, I will not lie, it does feel a little bit like weaponized incompetence because her focus is so on fixing up the house and selling it. So though she has learned some stuff about like taking care of the horses in this business, she probably could be putting more effort into it, more research into doing it. But I guess like that would also lean into her wanting to keep this business, wanting to keep the property. The whole setup of the story does feel super rom-com, I'll be honest. All of this ridiculousness that feels like it could very easily be fixed with just like slightly better communication. But at the same time, I'm just like really not feeling it on the rom so far. Every time Molly and Shani talk, it's more like they're just continuing an argument as opposed to like really getting anywhere. I suppose you could say Molly has learned some things about Shani, but on the opposite side, it's like Shani thinks she already knows everything about Molly, and she doesn't really put any effort into trying to change all the assumptions she already has about this woman. It feels as though she has this set perception of her and she's not trying to change it. So like, I don't understand how feelings are going to develop between them because of how she currently feels about Molly. It's not going great, I won't lie. It's entertaining enough thus far that I do think I will continue reading it. But if it really starts to push my buttons as far as this just drama, if things continue to have these like same stupid situations, I wouldn't be surprised if I DNF'd this. And I'm really bummed to say that because I would love to have a fun sapphic cowgirl romance, but not loving it. I don't know how much more of this I will really get read tonight. Josh and I are going to be going out to dinner with a friend. We're going to get hot pie. It sounds delicious. I cannot wait, but I'm gonna do my best to still make progress. Fingers crossed. Hello friends, I meant to update earlier when I still like looked nice, but it was actually a really nice day out today. So Josh and I ended up taking Faith on a walk pretty much as soon as I got home, and then I jumped into making dinner, which was delicious but took a hot minute. I'm finally here to give you some updates because we have made some progress today. I've definitely read too much fan fiction today as well, but progress has been made. So starting at the top, I did read a little bit more into the Ride of Her Life this morning. I think I was around like 65-ish% into this when I made the decision that I am unfortunately going to DNF this one. It's just really not working for me. I'm really frustrated with both of the main characters. I don't really like either of them, honestly. Molly, whose eyes we are seeing through, initially I did like her, but the more we get to see of her, she's not narcissistic, but like she's just so focused on herself to the point where like she's not even like thankful for people for helping her out, and it's really frustrating. She's also naive. I don't know if it's naive is the word I want to use, or just like sticks her head in the sand to the point where it's almost irresponsible, and it's really getting grating. Then there's like numerous, not really miscommunications, but just like awkward situations that end up causing issues between the two main characters characters, they kind of will find some footing, maybe have a nice interaction, and then the next time they're fighting again. And it's way too back and forth to the point that like I'm not feeling convinced of a relationship developing here, meaning that whenever I hit the point where they finally like confess to having feelings for each other, I did not feel that. And then they end up sleeping together and I really was not sold on it. It just not liking it. So really bummed, but not finishing this. It's driving me crazy, honestly. It was just very frustrating watching these two literally go in circles. And I feel like there are too many plot points that have been presented thus far, and none of them are really getting enough development to make me want to continue reading. The relationship with her and her mom hasn't really improved or changed in any way, shape, or form. She has a weird relationship with her best friend that I think I can figure out where it's going, and I'm not a fan of it, so I don't really want to watch that play out. And then as far as like the whole selling the barn thing goes, even like I gave up. I gave up basically. But lucky for me, I was already a little suspicious of something like this happening. So before I went to work this morning, I went ahead and pulled another book just to see what do we have next. I wasn't sure I was going to be picking something else up, but I thought it would be safe to have the next pick in my pocket. So ended up drawing How to Catch a Queen by Alyssa Cole. This one I got from a Barnes & Noble closing sale because I have read thrillers by this author and really enjoyed them, and I really like the way she worked her romances into the thrillers, so I was intrigued to try her actual romances. We start in the prologue following Sanyu, who is a prince, and he's a prince of, it's talked about like it's a country in the book, but from the research I've done, I think it's more of a clan in Uganda, which I will say has been interesting. I've been learning little bits about their culture, and I'm really liking that. His father was this like really powerful king. Like they called him the Iron Fist. He was a rough, hard leader. And so his son has always been raised to kind of be the same way, but Shanyu is definitely not that way. And a very important element to the story and to Shanyu's background is the fact that his father had like 50 wives, constantly was marrying somebody new. And Shanyu always kind of hated that. He doesn't want to treat women that way. And so that is actually a big part of why he didn't ever want to become king. So when his father is passing at the start, doesn't want these responsibilities, does not believe he has what it takes to lead this country. So he basically just ends up agreeing to this marriage with this woman, Shanti, so he can be married before his father passes. And then this way he has a queen in place for whenever he does come into power, even though Shanti is basically not allowed to do anything. So then we actually alternate to Shanti's perspective. And she is from a neighboring country, was actually the daughter of farmers, and basically has been determined to become a queen her entire life. And part of this comes from the fact that the queen of her home country is very powerful, is a really big player and very successful, and really has improved the lives of the people in her country. So she wants to be that. She wants to be this influential, very impactful leader, done everything in her life just to become this perfect queen. However, now that she has this opportunity, she can't talk to anybody, she can't do anything, she has no friends, she has no abilities, and Shanti and Sanyu have like barely interacted since they got married. But Sanyu is starting to see that his wife is actually pretty smart. She is really clever. She's actually paying attention to a lot of stuff. She is catching on to all these political games that are happening, and she could probably make some real change happen here. In reality, it seems as though we're kind of setting up a plot with his head advisor trying to lead the country himself. Actually, not trying to. He essentially is leading the country. He came into power alongside Sanyu's father, and he's helped to train Sanyu for all these years, but he knows Sanyu like isn't really a strong leader, so he has been bulldozing over him since the king's passing and really is the one leading everything. But he has all these very conservative, old school values, and while he's trying to keep up this appearance of the country being very powerful and very in charge, in reality people are fleeing, their military is not doing well, their economy is suffering, women do not have nearly as many rights, the country is definitely needing some reform. And already I can see that a relationship is starting to blossom a little bit between Shanti and Sanyu. They are attracted to each other, but like I said, they've had like no interaction since they got married, and just now they're finally starting to actually communicate and maybe possibly figure out that like, okay, you're not so bad. How can we make this work for each other? I am liking it so far. It's very intriguing. I really like Shanti's character. She is very strong and is willing to say what needs to be said sometimes, but because of her position, she knows it's still precarious and she still has to be careful. But every once in a while, she'll like push the envelope and oh, every time it has been delicious. Sonyu on the opposite side, I think he has room for growth. I'm hoping we will see a really good character arc from him. Fingers crossed. I am proud that at the very least we are 3 books in for this video because I was so nervous when I finally started it that like I was maybe gonna finish 1. Good morning, friends. I'm filmed an update in a minute, but I have actually made a good amount of progress into how to catch a queen. I'm still waking up if it's not obvious. I think I'm around like 60-ish% in, and I am really liking this. I will say, I guess my biggest con so far is that it's very predictable. There's not really been any twists and turns I have not anticipated with what's happening in the story. Everything is going like exactly as I would expect it to, but it's a romance book. I am enjoying it. I like the dynamic that's developing between Shanti and Sonyu. Sonyu in particular is getting some really good character exploration, and it's definitely reminding me of Chauncey in Forever Her Bachelor by Cecilia Renee, because he is having to break down his own internal misogynies and like his own biases to become the person he wants to be. And I'm really liking it. I really like seeing that done, especially in romances. It's just so impeccable, and I feel like it always pushes against the stereotypical like alpha male characters that get a lot of attention, but this kind of character work is just my bread and butter. I love it. And because he is actively doing this more and more, it's improving the relationship he has with Shanti. And so Shanti is also starting to feel more comfortable, more empowered, and is willing to stand up against some of the injustices she's been dealing with. Biggest one being Masoki, who is the advisor that worked for Shanyu's father and is really the one that's like kind of trying to run everything. And of course, he is not particularly pleased that things are changing. So I'm really liking it. It is kind of funny because a lot of the time, everything feels very wrapped up in these political games. And then whenever we get to see these characters on their own or like in a much more relaxed setting, I get hit with the reminder that like, oh yes, this is a modern day story. Text threads, Sonyu gets put into, I'm not gonna be able to find it, but he gets put into a group chat with some other royals who are also on the younger side. And the title of it is some sort of a pun. It was hilarious. There's been a little bit of spice, but like it's done in one of those ways of like, we are doing this purely so each of us can let off some steam. This is nothing more. So of course, like that's adding to some sexual tension, which I am all over. It's really good. I am really liking this across the board. Definitely very enjoyable. I think it reminds me of like some movie, some story I've taken in some capacity somewhere, and I can't think of what it is. Like my brain keeps wanting to say Princess Diaries, but that's not really it. Though now that I'm thinking about it, Princess Diaries 2, maybe, in which Sonyu is Anne Hathaway's character and Shanti is Chris Pine. Even then, not a perfect comparison. There's still things there that are a little different. So yeah, this is going really well. I'm really hoping to try and finish this one today so I can maybe squeeze in one more book for you guys. We'll see. Hello, my loves. So officially closing out this vlog, I was gonna try and squeeze one more book in, but unfortunately it's just not gonna happen. I did officially finish out How to Catch a Queen. I did really like this, but it didn't really ever surprise me. I think the political plot line trying to develop some sort of a relationship between Shanti and Shanyu so that they could work together was so at the forefront that I wasn't really taken away by the romance at the end of this. I really wish I would have been more convinced by a romantic relationship between these two. The third act conflict and like how everything worked out there is more focused on the political plot line and then how that ends up wrapping up. I liked it, and I really liked what it meant for this like camaraderie they had developed, starting to work together and try to help their nation move forward. But again, like as a romantic couple, I felt like we needed a little bit more development between the two of them. I will say Alyssa Cole definitely knows what she's doing when it comes to spice. I'd probably put this at like 3 chili pepper. The epilogue is pretty cute, and I also really like how the one kind of mystery that goes on throughout the book kind of wraps up at the end. I really liked that and how it played into the political plot line. I will say I really thought Masuki was going to be more of a like dastardly villain, and it didn't really take that turn where it was a little over the top and fanciful. I think this actually still felt pretty realistic and contemporary. It was a very normal and like human response to try and solve this situation at the end, which I did find really refreshing. Feel a little bit more grounded than like a typical rom-com. I'm also really curious if maybe some of the side characters in this are supposed to be characters from one of Cole's other romantic royal series. There was like little moments between the characters that felt like they were referencing to things that I should know about, but obviously this is my first of her romance books, so I didn't, but I'm very curious about that. And I would definitely be willing to continue on with this series and try another romance out from this author. I think I would put this at like a low 4. As I said, I wasn't taken away with the romance, which is what I really prefer in my romance books, but on the whole, I did enjoy this as a story. All right, so quick wrap up. We had How to Catch a Queen, our final one. Unfortunately, I DNF'd The Ride of Her Life by Jennifer Dugan. It's a shame, but I have had no draw to return to this. And then I also gave The Art of Catching Feelings by Alicia Thompson 4 stars. I wish I would have been a little bit more productive in this vlog, but at the very least, I got 3 romance books off of my owned TBR, something, and I actually managed to finish this video in time for Valentine's Day. I was getting a little nervous there for a minute, I'm not gonna lie to you. All right, so on that note, that's officially it for today, y'all. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, of course, we gotta leave a red heart emoji down in the comments. I have links to all my socials, as well as a few ways you can support me down in the description. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!